Welcome to Creative Courage Chats, a search for a new understanding of creativity and problem solving. I'm Alex Raffi. Hi, so today I think I'm going to take a moment and talk about a part of something I talk about in my book in terms of problem solving called forecasting. So I think that a lot of us make this mistake when we look at problems. So to illustrate this point, I'm going to use this image. This is called an impossible box. You might have actually seen it. It's an optical illusion. Clearly, the beams in the box that make up the box start at the front and end up in the back. Vice versa, they start at the back, end up in the front. And I like to show this to people and ask them if they'd be able to build it if I gave you just solid, straight pieces of wood with nails and a hammer. And most of the time, I'd say almost all of the time, people say that they can't, right? So that's obvious because it's an optical illusion, it's an illustration, it sounds like a trick question, but if I give you beams, could you build this thing? Obviously you can't, right? You can't put a board in front of another board and make it then all of a sudden fit behind another board that is supposed to be, or in front of it. Or the other way around. I don't know. It gets confusing. But anyway, regardless, clearly you look at this and you think that you can't build it because it's impossible box. Anyway, well, actually you can build it, and it's this is part of my point. If you do this and change the perspective, you start to see that it is possible to build this thing actually quite easily, and that it's just the way that we were looking at this particular problem that was causing us to be confused. I think this is something that we all do. That's why I call it forecasting. We make assumptions about what the solution should be or could be before we actually do the work and the research required to find the solution. This is a major problem for a lot of us. You know, we assume that we know everything we need to know and that we have enough data to make a valid assumption as to how the end result will look, which is not likely most of the time. We need to, when we see a problem, go at it from all different angles. If it's a very difficult problem, you might have to change your perspective and the way that you approach it, the way that you see it. Maybe you need to work with people that you normally don't agree with to be able to look at look at things differently than you and see if they might be able to help you. Now, if we go back, you can see that there is a hint that would let you actually see that there is a solution to this problem, something that doesn't seem right. And if you've noticed, it's the shadow. That shadow doesn't work. The shadow is not something, it doesn't relate to the shape that you think the box is. And that shadow is the hint as to how to solve the problem. That was actually at one of my workshops. A woman brought her child into it, and the kid seemed very bored, but he did ask about the shadow when I brought that up. That's very interesting that a child was able to actually see the shadow, but all the adults were staring at the thing and not understanding how it would work. But regardless, I think this is something that needs to be considered when we approach problems. And are we doing our best in trying to find the best solutions? And anyway, that's the way I look at problem solving from the perspective of forecasting, knowing that we need to work together and we need to actually open ourselves up a little more and have less of an ego to where we assume we know the solution and the answers. You know, problems sometimes aren't that clear. You know, you might actually assume that someone might say, I need you to find a solution to my blue problem. Well, maybe your problem isn't blue. Maybe we have to try other colors. We have to try to approach it using other colors. So there are so many different ways that we always kind of make these assumptions that dictate our process in finding a solution. And it's very difficult to do, but a lot of times don't think so much about what the solution should look like. Just start analyzing and traveling and going in that same direction. We will eventually find a solution, but we need to be open to the opportunities out there that we didn't notice or wouldn't notice before. And we need to learn a little bit about what the dynamics are of the particular problem. All right, so anyway, I'd like to hear comments if you have any, or any suggestions or thoughts on that idea. That would be great. And if you enjoy the content I'm putting out there, I appreciate if you subscribe and like the videos and stuff like that. Thanks a lot.